Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another podcast. Select men in a subculture. Select men in a subculture. Now, there's many nuances to male-female relationships, to any model. As I always say, it's an art, not a science. It's an art, not a science. And in general, like that whole select, non-select thing, like there's a nuance where someone can be like maybe within mainstream culture, generally non-select. Like most people going to see them, most women going to see them as non-select, not going to be turned on. But that same person in maybe a niche subculture might be considered the man. And you have a lot of cats like that. Like in general, non-select, but then in certain spaces, they are select. And it's like one of those things of just knowing your lane, knowing where you are. And I'm going to get more into the subcultural thing in a future video, or future podcast rather. But just know this. If you always got to think about where you are. And you always got to think about class. So, like an example, say someone is in, great example. Let me think. I got a lot of examples. Let me think of the best one. All right, like there was this one time I was doing a relationship seminar at this kind of new agey expo. It was like a bunch of new age type of folks, and I was doing my thing. And I was talking about compatibility. And it was interesting. I had a goth couple in there. And I actually pointed them out. I said, yeah, I'm made for each other. They just laughed. They were good natured. But, I mean, if you're thinking about something like goths, the goth women, they might not necessarily see that preppy, upper class preppy type of guy as attractive. The status don't mean, that status of having money, having some wealth, and even having conventionally good looks don't mean anything. But some dude who might be, how do I put this? Some dude who might not represent that, might be poor or whatever, but and maybe not conventionally as good looking, but in the terms of that subculture, they're great looking. Like you get some subcultures which promote locks. So somebody with locks might be great looking. Or you got maybe a lot of subcultures that promote tattoos, body art. So the guy who's going to be the select guy, the sexy guy, is going to be that guy who has tats and everything. So it's very important. It is very important to see where you are. Or you could be that guy. You don't have to be one of those type of stuff. It could be like in a church subculture. Churches are subcultures. My favorite example, I used this before. I don't know if she had bothered watching these videos, but she is deep into the church. Like deep in there. Like I'll joke with her about, you gonna marry a Muslim brother. And she said, stop playing, Rob, stay playing. With locks. It was like, no, you gotta be that clean cut dude that loves his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And wants to be in church 8 days a week. But that's a subculture right there. And see, that's an important thing. Yeah, the sex part, like it is still a sexual hierarchy, but it's the context in which someone wants to have sex. So it might be that church thing, or it might be an interest thing. Like, I don't know, the most popular guy at the comic book store, or the best co-player at a comic book convention. That makes a difference. It's always that social interface. Because one of the things we really don't talk as much about the effect of culture on sexual choices, decisions, or really even in how someone looks. Because there's a big difference in culture. Like if a subculture is maybe more of an economic subculture in a poor neighborhood, like that's a subculture. where you have a lot of bad food, bad and greasy food, a lot of fast food places, poor quality grocery stores with bad meats, bad fruits, all of that. So you have somebody who eats all that. You're in that culture, and plus, if you've been in that culture, there's a certain mindset that you have, a certain way you're going to carry yourself. Because depending on where it is, it could be a predatory subculture where you always have to like keep your head on the swivel. Now, the type of guy who's selecting that culture probably might not be the type of guy who would be selecting the upper middle class subculture. So hopefully you get what I'm saying. Basically, it's finding where you're supposed to be. Now, that's something I've looked at. And like I said, it's a very interesting dynamic. You sitting back and you looking at the guy, and it's like, well, most part he ain't, most women gonna look at him, but he's like, shoot, forget all that noise. He go into his little subculture. It could be a freaking subculture. Like, real talk. I remember I was going to my car, and in the complex I live in, and I saw a couple white people. They were going through the dumpsters. Had galoshes and everything. They were probably freegans. Now, freegans, that's an interesting subculture. Dumpster divers. They actually dive in, like they might dive in near a restaurant, get some of that food, or they might go through stuff to look for clothes that are thrown out or any other useful item. Now, I was looking at the man and the woman. I was looking at the dude. You clean that dude up. He's a white dude. You clean that dude up, cut his hair, give him a bath, put on some preppy clothes, and he looked like one of those all-American type of dudes. But he was in that little freaking subculture. So it's like you need to look a certain way. Like I'm that type of person. I've met like different folks. So, but he would probably be considered select. But to most people, they'd be like, ooh, take a bath. What the hell you going through they were ready for it. They had on galoshes, ready to go in. I thought it for a second. I said, damn, should I say something? Or, you know what, I'm just going to let them do their thing because they saw what car I was standing beside. I'll just keep an eye if they become an issue. But they were actually very quiet, very polite, just stayed to themselves. But I just know. That's why I keep I need to get a shredder or something if I have any important documents. But anyway, and that's just one example. Like in the black community, we got mostly blacks who follow this channel. There's a big difference between maybe some of the Pan-African communities, conscious communities, alternative religion communities, and what they would see as select, and then what would be considered mainstream black America. So sometimes a dude, he can have that nice suit on, he can be a professional, but he's not seen as select to maybe a group of crunchy granola type of sisters. They got their locks out, they burning sages, they talking about Reiki and energy healing. The type of guy considered select to them, it might be a little bit different than, say, a bunch of bougie sisters. And in fact, I always shout out Master Teacher BGS for the octane thing, because that plays a big role as well. And I'm going to get more into this in my video tomorrow. But just understand, just being a select man, it really is dependent on your environment as well, and what environment you're in, and which women that you're choosing to interact with. So anyway, it's something to think about. Like people who know me well know I like to use that word nuances, because life is full of nuances. In fact, on Rom TV, I have a new series, Nuances of the Game. So y'all can check out the link for it. There is, I have a free episode. Y'all can check a free preview of it. Y'all can check out. So anyway, that's all I have for today. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and blessings.